Hey y'all, welcome back to Jack's Drinkwater Southern Cooking and Barbecue. In today's video, I got a Cajun meatball stew. You're gonna wanna stick around for this one. So we'll start out with a 1.5 pounds of 80/20, 1 egg beaten, 1/3 cup of Italian breadcrumbs. You could use some, like 3 slices of bread if you wanted to. A 1/2 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, 1/3 cup of milk. I also want to throw this out there. You don't have to follow this meatball recipe if you don't want. You could use your own recipe if you have one. A teaspoon or 2 of salt, depending on your taste. Good hefty teaspoon of black pepper, chopped fresh parsley, and some chopped fresh oregano. I'll leave the amounts that I use in the description. And lastly, we're going to use some fresh garlic. That was about 2 cloves there. I'm going to put in 1 more clove, I think. All right, so we're just going to give this a good mix, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. All right, our meatballs are all mixed up, and you can see we're starting to form some meatballs. You just want to make sure that you keep these meatballs relatively the same size as best you can. It's up to you how big or small you want to make them. You'll want to go ahead and set your oven to 350 degrees, because what we're going to do is we want to bake these meatballs for about 20-25 minutes and release some of the fat that's in here, because we don't want all of that fat into our Cajun meatball stew. So we'll just continue to do this, and I'll get back with you when we're done. As you can see, we've ended up with about 12 meatballs here. So remember, 350 degree oven, we're going in for 20 minutes. While our meatballs are baking up there, now is what you want to do is make a roux. And if you don't know what a roux is basically flour and oil, equal parts. Now, I happen to pre-make my roux and freeze it. So this is a frozen roux, but if you didn't want to do a frozen roux or make your own roux, you can certainly use a jarred roux. I use about 4 tablespoons of roux. Seeing as how mine's frozen, we're just going to set that aside. We're going to add some oil to the pan, and we're going to start cooking our onions. The reason why, so when you would make this roux, if you were making it, you don't want to get it to this color. You just before, when it gets to a caramel color, you want to add in your onions and then cook your onions down, and then you'll end up with a roux this color, okay? Hopefully everyone out there knows how to make a roux. I guess I probably should make a video on that or something. All right, we're just adding a little bit of oil to the pan. I would say this too, one more thing about the roux. If you don't know how to make a roux, the best thing to do is just buy a jarred roux and follow the steps that I'm making now, or follow the steps I'm doing now. Let's go ahead and add our onions now. That was 1 medium-sized onion. So we basically just want to soften these onions, not caramelize them or anything, just get them translucent. All right, that's about how you want your onions there. Now we'll add our 4 tablespoons of roux in here and get this nice and melty or thawed out there. It's pretty much thawed out now. It just needs to melt up here. All right, so we got that roux incorporated into those onions. Now you're going to be using a total of 3 cups of beef broth in this recipe, but I'm just going to add, out of this 3 cups, I'm going to just add a little bit right now, just to kind of mix this roux in. So, because we're going to put our meatballs in here, and we don't want to disturb our meatballs too much, so I find it better to kind of do it this way. so there's not as much stirring going on while those meatballs are in here. So we just pulled our meatballs out. We'll start placing these in here just like so. So on top of these, we're going to go in with some potatoes. Now this is about 6 small red potatoes that we've quartered. We're going to go in with some bell pepper here. This is a half of a green bell pepper going in. All right, now, I know everybody down in their mama's basement right now is going to come out of the woodwork. This is some canned carrots. And before you start going off in the comments section about using canned carrots, let me just tell you this. If you want to use fresh carrots, go for it. But I'm telling you, you don't want to mess with this a lot of stirring. And carrots take forever to get soft. I've done it several different ways, and I'm telling you, this is the best way. However, if you want to use fresh carrot, go for it. All right, very important. We're going to go in with some cayenne and garlic Tabasco. We're using 1 tablespoon of that. Now, we're going to go in with the rest of our beef broth. And keep in mind, you may have to add a little bit more water. The main thing is we want to make sure that our meatballs are fairly covered. So I'm going to try to stir this easily. I probably should have put that beef broth in first, but we'll be all right. So I'll be back with you in just a second. All right, I'm going to show y'all how I stir this throughout the cooking process. I go in between the meatballs just like this without disturbing the meatballs too much. I found that this is what works for me. Maybe you have a better way. If you do, you're certainly welcome to do that. But what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of getting all that roux off the bottom and mixed in to this beef broth. And what we want to do now is bring this up to a low boil. Then once we get it up to that, we're going to cut the heat probably just a little bit and simmer it. And we're going to get, the object is to get those potatoes tender. And this is going to be a nice, fairly thick gravy. So we've been going about a half an hour, and I just tasted this. You want to go about a half hour because let some of those potatoes and bell peppers release their liquid. We're going to add a little bit of salt. I think we're good on black pepper. That'll be a good, and then we'll stir that in. So we'll just kind of stir this in, keep going. I'm figuring probably, I'll check those potatoes in another 15 minutes, and I am cooking with the lid on. Once we reach, the potatoes are done, then I'm going to take the lid off and finish cooking and thicken this, I don't know, broth, or what I like to call gravy. All right, we've been going, I don't know, what's it been, maybe an hour or hour and a half. Looks like we're at the consistency that I want here. Looks delicious, and I mean, we could go thicker, but I'm liking this. So we're gonna serve this over some rice. All right, let's give it a sample. All right, here we go. I'm gonna get a little bit of a meatball and a potato and a carrot. Let's just get it all. As always, it's fantastic. This goes down in my top 10 in my rotation always. Easy, delicious, ranks 10 on the flavor scale. All right, guys, Cajun Meatball Stew. Do it.